This just in. Monsters of an unknown origin have invaded numerous cities throughout the world, causing massive destruction and civil unrest. Who are these creatures? Where did they come from? And what do they want? We now take you to the headquarters of the diabolical minds believed to be responsible for these gargantuan creations.
War of the Monsters is a platform fighter. It's set in the style of vintage sci-fi monster movies with big creatures battling in cities, grabbing cars and throwing them at each other, grappling and punching, smashing the city. As you progress through it, you kind of see a simple story evolve, just like you would in any typical B movie.
Armies are mobilizing while local authorities are doing their best not to aggravate these gargantuan beasts.
In War of the Monsters, everything is interactive. Every building you see, you can crush it and destroy it. Debris scatters on the ground. If cop cars drive by, you can pick them up and throw them. Climb to the top of a skyscraper and there's a radio tower there, peel it off, throw it at your enemy and impale him.
So it's not just stuff's interactive, but they also actually function differently. So when I grab like a power transformer off of a building, I actually can fire electrical blasts out of it. You can do things like sneak up on people and kind of shove them into the power lines and watch them get shocked. When the military attacks you, if you take the risk to run up at them, you can pick those guys up and you can launch missiles at your opponents.
There are some levels where just swarms of military choppers right out of the movies will come right at you, and you can smash and destroy some of them, or you can grab one, look at your opponent, and then throw it right back at him.
Just like the monsters of the Atomic Age, these titanic nightmares seem to be bent on the destruction of anything in their path. Buildings are being knocked over like blocks. Cars hurled like toys. The cityscape has become a giant playground for these battling behemoths.
The environments not only provide debris and things to throw, but they also have a number of built-in weapons to them or built-in events that occur. We have this kind of neon futuristic city setup where you can actually trigger tidal waves that will come out and kind of wash your enemies partially away. We have another one that's set in this tropical resort kind of setting with a volcano in the background that's supposedly dormant. And as you fight kind of on the shoreline, you can actually find ways to trigger the volcano, which will begin raining hot lava down at your opponents.
Here at WPSU News, we are tracking each monster as it rampages through the streets, causing great havoc. Once these creatures get closer to each other, we'll be switching you live to our close combat camera for a better view of the action.
We didn't want to be a standard fighter, tied down in hand-to-hand combat. We wanted to be able to have the players do free roaming combat, long range and short range. So if you're doing two-player deathmatch, for example, you have a traditional two-player split screen so that you can run around the arena. But when you get close to the monster, the real-time changes, and the two viewports become one into a more traditional fighting view. Then you can wail away on each other in hand-to-hand combat. Sometimes you end up going from rooftop to rooftop in these very dramatic monster battles, which usually climax in a heavy hit from Rockman or one of the other slower, heavier characters, knocks you completely out of the level, and then it transitions you back into two viewports.
These monsters seem to be in complete control of the destruction. What makes them so agile and powerful?
When we started off designing War of the Monsters, we wanted to make the game very pick up and play, very mass market, but we didn't want to lose the hardcore gamer. So what we did was we developed a control scheme that allowed a newbie to pick it up and just wail away on the buttons and have a really good time. Simple light attack button, heavy attack button, hybrid action button, and jump. That's it. But then as you play further and further into the game, the more advanced players will find that they can do modified combos. What happens is as you play through the game, different types of mechanics emerge in different combos. So you might do jump and then climb a building, jump off the building, and then do a butt stomp. Go right into hand-to-hand combat, do up and heavy to do a stun hit, grab the guy and throw him into a building. Now those are all just mechanics that are built right off a very simple control pad layout, but they also yield a very spectacular combo.
Unbelievable! The one creature actually seems to be challenging the other to a fight! He's literally taunting him! Well, folks, this can't be good!
What would a fighting game be without having the ability to taunt your opponent? You're sitting on your couch, you just beat down your buddy, you have to be able to taunt him, make him feel really bad about what just happened. But in War of the Monsters, we take the taunting a little bit further. When you get fully boosted, when your monster collects enough monster energy and you taunt, you get a boost. And for a set amount of time, you do like double or triple damage depending on the character. So taunting not only is cool just from the demeaning value to your opponents, but it also is an integral part to gameplay.
Is it the end of the world? Will humanity survive? Which monster will prevail? Stay tuned for more at 11.
Once in a while, a game hits the shelves that we all become addicted to. These games are often hard to describe, and even harder to figure out what makes them so fun. But the more we play them, the more fun they become, and Amplitude is just such a game. So what is Amplitude?
Well, it kind of falls between genres in that it's kind of a music game. The game experience is built around different rock songs and so forth. But it's also got some action elements where you're basically shooting through this 3D landscape, exploding gems.
Picture yourself out on a multi-lane highway with a ship hovering over that highway. And on each lane of that highway are gems that hold a sound. They'll hold maybe a kick drum or a guitar riff or a vocal track. And by using it as a shooter and blasting these gems, you unlock those sounds. If you connect gems in a row successfully, you'll unlock that track.
So what we've really been trying to do is strive to get that balance built into Amplitude. So you get that musical buzz that you get out of making music, but it's really in the service of winning.
The soundtrack for Amplitude is like no other game you've played. In fact, the game features over 20 major artists spanning multiple musical genres.
There's so many great bands on this game. We got David Bowie, Run DMC, Weezer, Garbage, Blink-182, the Baldwin Brothers, Karashi. They're a rap band from Iceland. They're very cool.
You would think that getting artists of this caliber would be difficult, but since most of them are huge PlayStation fans, it wasn't so hard. The challenging part started after they signed on.
When a band is recording a song, the way that they lay their song, each instrument track by track. So they'll lay down the drum track, and then they'll put down bass and guitar until it's all filled up, and then they'll do a final mix that kind of glues it all together. In Amplitude, we were able to get the original master recordings from all the artists in the game. So what that basically means is we have separated recordings of the bass, the drums, the guitar, and then we have a full team here of musicians that basically take all the different sounds from the song and chop it up into very minute chunks and basically rip the song apart and stick it all back together again.
That way, when we put it into the game and all the parts are activated, it emulates the final mix. It gives us access to each individual element of that song. It gives you a chance to interact with each element of that song. You can go in when you're remixing it and create your own drum beat based on all the drum sounds that are available to you in that song. Or you can take a guitar riff and play it back a different way.
The team didn't know what to expect from some of the bigger name groups, but was encouraged early on by the feedback they'd received.
We hooked up with the X-Ecutioners in an early stage of development here, and we played them the game, and they were really into it. And everybody here is a big, so we wanted to find a way to get them involved.
We remixed King of Rock, classic Run DMC song. Roooob Swift is scratching some guitars on it. I'm scratching and breaks, he's scratching through it. So it's collaboration of all three stuff with their stuff. 3-on-3, I guess, was.
I was really impressed by the game. Being a musician, being a person who uses samplers and turntables, to find out that there was a game out there to cater to my creativity, to cater to my urge to want to blend music together and blend sounds together was really interesting. And I remember when I first started playing it, I got hooked, like in the first couple of minutes of playing it.
But it's more than just the music that separates Amplitude from the other games. It also has a visual style that's unmatched.
In Amplitude, you're going to have to work your way through 5 different arenas that all exist in this cyberspace world. Each arena is going to have 5 paths through it. You're going to have to play through each song on each of those paths in that arena before you can progress through to the next arena. There's going to be a boss level at the end of the arena, which is going to be a little bit tougher. Visually, it's going to be a lot different than the rest of the paths through there. And you're going to have to beat that before you can go on to the next one.
Our process for designing arenas is pretty much the process that we follow with all the art. It's very much based on Hollywood-style production. We start off with pre-production, we do drawings, we write documents, try and think the whole world through. We connect one arena to another arena. And once we get all the exciting things hashed out and we get all the cool new looks worked out, it just turns into a production mode. We'll check out some cool new games that are coming out and be like, oh, there's a great special effect. Let's incorporate that.
The music and visuals combine to create a game experience that's like no other.
There's a couple different modes to Amplitude in single player mode. It's just you traveling through these worlds on this path, trying to activate all of the individual music parts. So essentially what you're doing is you're building the song up track by track. Each song actually has 4 different difficulty levels, which is going to allow for a lot of replayability.
There's 2 different multiplayer modes in Amplitude. There's just the regular game mode, whereby you try to beat your friends and get a higher score. There's also multiplayer remix, where the point is not so much to win the game, but to just collaborate creatively with somebody making music, so that you can play a bass part, somebody else is playing a drum part. Up to 4 people can collaborate at the same time in laying down a new tune. We have developed a new mode that we're very excited about, which is duel mode, which is kind of a cross between competition and creativity, whereby you get to pound out custom phrases on different instruments, and then the other player has to match your phrase. And that's proving to be really fun, and it's a completely different game experience than the stuff we built before.
Playing Amplitude at home is definitely addictive, but the excitement gets turned up a notch when you go online. There you'll find thousands of other musical freaks waiting to challenge you in a live musical jam session.
Amplitude can be played online, which is amazing. You can experience this game not only with perhaps your standard group of friends or family, but with vast variety of different kinds of people. It allows you to play anytime you want.
Amplitude works great on either a dial-up connection or broadband. It's very heavily optimized so that broadband and dial-up folks can play against each other without it even being an issue. Amplitude Online is going to have a ranking system whereby you have a permanent account. Every time you win or lose, it just basically recalculates your position on the ladder. We're really looking forward to seeing who kind of rises to the top and seeing how, whether or not we can beat them.
Once you're online, you're going to need a persona that fits your style, which is where the freaks come into play.
We have this whole avatar system which allows you to customize your persona, so you can have a little guy on screen. Usually during the game, the little guy actually will play the instrument corresponding to the track that you're on. So if you're on a bass track, your avatar is playing bass. If you're on a keyboard track, they play keyboard. As you work your way through a campaign, you get to unlock more and more freak parts. So you get sunglasses and hats, you get a cool afro. So the farther you are through the campaign, the more customization you can apply to your guy.
Ultimately, it's all of these elements combined that make Amplitude such fun to play.
I think a lot of people are just really going to enjoy these visually stunning worlds. They're going to enjoy going in there and recreating songs and hearing them in a way that they've never heard them before.
The gap is closing, Ryan. The gap is closing.
Victory is always within your grasp. It's all about nailing these tough patterns, and even if you miss it, you feel in your mind like, oh, I could have nailed that. And so you just hit the restart button and go and do it again.
When you compound that with actually competing with other people, it's completely captivating. It's mesmerizing.
Come on! I was so ahead of you.
You get this amazing audio feedback while you're playing, because every time you successfully do something, a great musical sample comes out. The more you do, the better it sounds, the more music opens up, and it just really starts to come alive.
It's fast, it's raging, there's just some intensity to it. You're just like, oh, no way, you know. Jak II is meant to be sort of the next wave in water racing games.
Part of the goal of Jak II was to give the gamer the sense of freedom, the sense of large worlds, the sense of multiple paths. The main part of our game is actually racing with tricks. So it's pulling off multiple tricks while racing down this fast, branching course, trying to get the best time and the highest trick total.
We're trying to push the verticality. Nobody's ever done this in a water racing game. Water racing games tend to be circuit-based, 30-second laps around a track. And we've just plain thought that was boring.
We can now make real-time waves, we can run current, we can run very intricate physics models on multiple craft.
It was really important for us to have the craft deform the water and leave a wake, and then other crafts would react to that wake. You get a layer of physical simulation where your guy's reacting to the physics as well, trying to go where you're pushing him with the controller. So when you lay over to the side, your guy will come over, but as physics pulls you, you'll be pulled by that as well and kind of bouncing around.
People are tired of seeing the standard tricks, so why not raise the bar and do something a little bit different? The tricks that we use encompass many different aspects of extreme sports, like motocross, even some basic jet ski, and like skateboarding. We try to grab many different attributes of each one, and we try to incorporate it in all the different animations. We tried to extrapolate from sort of real-world possibilities of what a Superman might be like, you know, jumping off the back and grabbing the back of the seat. Well, we take it one step further and allow the guy to spin off the back of the jet ski in a manner that nobody would really ever be able to do.
We were looking at motions that were basically impossible for a human to do.
No problem, dude.
All of our characters are their characters. They're not stagnant, stale figures.
There's only one intelligent choice here.
They actually have a backstory, a little bio, history.
If you can't take heat, get out of oven.
We wanted people to come away from the game either really loving a character or really hating a character.
Clancy!
I'll show you crazy.
What we really wanted was these downhill rushing currents that were pulling you along, and you really felt like you're hitting, these crazy turns, and suddenly the water drops out, and you've got this huge downhill run. It's all about the excitement.
It's very fun, it's very challenging. The tricks are just a really nice trademark in the game.
Jak II is big worlds, huge drops, amazing tricks.
It's freedom on water.
ATV Off-Road Fury 2. So realistic, I swear you were there. Rated E for everyone. ATV Off-Road Fury 2. So realistic, they'll swear you were there. Rated E for everyone.
Soccer's popularity in America keeps growing and growing, but if you go to just about any other country in the world, soccer, or football as they call it, isn't just a game, it's an overriding obsession, and for the developers of World Tour Soccer 2003, it's a way of life.
I think soccer in the UK is probably analogous to baseball in the States. It's a national institution, it's just what people do.
It's a bit of a dream job, really. To work on a soccer game and to have played soccer like all my life, it's just fantastic. If you don't play football, you don't watch football, you can't really put the detail of the game in.
During the development of World Tour Soccer 2003, no detail about, and that started with the hundreds of soccer teams from around the world.
We've got just about every major league team from across the world.
There's roughly 700 teams. We have leagues such as the English League, Italian, Spanish, German, American, Brazilian, Argentinian, Mexican, Korean and Japanese. Teams like Manchester, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, all the big names.
Of course, with over 700 teams, that means there are thousands of players in the game.
I think it worked out that we had about 14 to 15,000 players. I don't know the exact number. Some of those players are made up. For instance, players in the school teams, that's in our career mode, but the majority, 12 to 13,000, are all real players. So, it's a hell of a lot.
To create that many players is a huge amount of work for the developers.
To build a head, it takes roughly 2 days. You would have to find a good resource material, first of all, to start with. This would be a front profile, a side profile, and even a back profile of that person. And what we do with these 3 profiles is blend them into you call it a template, a flat 2D image of that player. And every adjustment that we make to each 2D template, we constantly apply it to the model. And to apply it to the head model, you have a mapping coordinate. And this mapping coordinate is a projection onto the model. This is a skill of its own as well.
The depth of World Tour Soccer 2003 can be found not only in the number of players and teams, but in the number of play modes and competitions available.
There's about 65 different competitions. So you have league games, domestic cup games, European competition. On top of that, we've added a thing called the transfer mode, So the idea is that when you win competitions, you get money. You can then take that money and you can go and buy the best players in the world.
So you can actually start off with a very, very junior team, and as your gate receipts increase, though, you can go through from amateur to, say, the British Premier League by buying and selling players from abroad.
For any sports game, the control of the action is one of the key factors, and the World Tour Soccer 2003 team spent a lot of time trying to get it just right.
The control system has been designed so you can actually pick up and play the game with just 3 basic buttons. That's just be able to run around, dribble, tackle and shoot.
We then have kind of an extra depth of functionality on the shoulder buttons. So we have our sprinting there, and if you hold down some, if you tap it, you'll knock the ball ahead, so you can burst past players. You go past someone with the ball, press R2, and that allows you to dive. If they're close, it'll look like it's been fouled. On the L shoulder buttons, we have skill moves. So we have shimmies, we have bins, we have step overs. So it's really Brazilian in feel. It looks really flash. When you're defending, we have assists. If someone's through on goal, you hold down L2 and the keeper will run out to narrow down the angles and make it harder to score. If you press down R2, you do a deliberate foul, and that's something for like taking out a star player and try and break his legs, basically. We have a great range of tackles in our game as well. So there's a great deal of functionality.
And each one of the moves has been brought to life through the detailed animation in the game.
The cutscenes which we have are particular because you've got a number of people that are actually in the cutscenes all at once. Say, for example, you've got a celebration, you've got 6 or 7 players all running around in a scene at once, and they're motion captured all together, but the animations are all provided to us singly. So the animators not only have to clean them up, but they have to reconstruct all of the cutscenes by bringing the players back into the scene one by one and making sure that they all come together and interact and hit each other and bounce off each other and work with each other in a very natural way. So that's quite a lot of hard work. In fact, on the art side, that's probably the single biggest job on the entire production.
It's clear that World Tour Soccer 2003 is an amazingly detailed game, a game that's custom-made for the soccer fanatic.
What we wanted to do is do it all and make a soccer game that we wanted to play and appeal to us, so I hope it appeals to everybody else as well.
Other opponents that's over 6 feet tall. Can you shoot a 3-pointer? Can you do the finger roll? Can you cross over, drop it down the lane, take it to the hole? Can you break ankles and shake them up? Take your ball behind your back and straight lay it up. Stand at the 3-point line and kinda jay it up. You got to show them skills to NBA it up. See now, you got to hoop it up, alley oop it up. And when the ball is loose, see how fast you can scoop it up. Have your game face on, I hope you're quick on your feet. Playing on concrete and taking NBA to the street. While my players in the front of me, yeah, yeah. While my shorties in the back of me, yeah, yeah. While my players on the right, yeah. My shorties on the left, yeah. Ready to play for keeps and take the NBA to the street. While my players in the front of me, yeah, yeah. While my shorties in the back of me, yeah, yeah. While my players on the right, yeah. My shorties on the left for keeps and take the NBA to the streets.
Think you got game? Know how to put the slam in the dunk and the alley and oop? Then you gotta take it to the street. NBA Street Volume 2, that is. In the latest version, you got next against some of the most famous and infamous players from the NBA and the world of street ball.
NBA Street 2 is without a doubt a true sequel of NBA Street. NBA Street was so well received, fresh basketball experience, fresh gaming experience above and beyond anything. Volume 2 takes it to a new level. More moves, more control, more style and more credibility. We got 2 times the animations that we had in Street 1. We're talking about actual moves that we've gone and brought more street ballers from New York, Chicago, even on the West Coast.
Our biggest challenge was creating a very innovative game that's truly original and yet really connects with the content, which is street, hip-hop, and basketball.
While you're playing Street 2, you might run into some shady characters, but the overall look of the players comes from yet another innovation from the artists at EA Sports Sphere.
The characters have our rendering system is completely new. We're calling it street shading. It's this lush, rich, juicy way that represents the characters. It's not photoreal, it's not toon shaded, it's this own new thing that just has the characters look so cool, but they pop from the core. And that goes from not just the front end art look, but the in-game graphics as far as having real rich, vibrant, realistic environments and characters that, quite frankly, we've had people say, we've never seen Dr. J look so good. I mean, really, there are characters in there that look better than they do in real life.
And while looking good is important, it wasn't the highest score for Volume 2.
It's all about gameplay depth. It's all about so many different new ways to play the game, whether it be, turbo steals and turbo blocks, or be the oop with the right analog control, off the Hise and off the backboard passes. There's just so many new features that we put in there that gamers are going to find it, best way to describe it, easy to pick up, difficult to master.
If mastery is your thing, try lacing them up for Street 2 as a single player on a mission, or in the new improved multiplayer mode.
We only had 2-player play in Street 1. Street 2, up to 4 players. And I'm being bold, but I think it's going to be the most fun people I've ever had playing multiplayer in a sports game.
The crew at EA Sports Big even threw in props to some old school stars that can take on the NBA's new kids on the block.
We have 145 players like we did last year, the freshest talent that's come out. But what we've added are the NBA legends. Will Chamberlain, Dr. J, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and we got 25 of these guys. They bring, decades of experience, personalities that are bigger and better than we could ever design in our level bosses.
The NBA legends bring an authenticity to the game historically, but at the same time they bring in this great style from the 70s, which I think really kind of attaches itself to pop culture, and old school really is a very current thing right now. You can see it in all the fashion magazines, hip-hop magazines. At the same time, you can't deny that new school is super cool too with all the NBA stars, so it's the age-old battle of old school versus new school.
So many choices. Do you go with the short shorts or baggies? Tube socks or low cuts? It's not just about fashion, it's about features and style.
We're really excited about the fact that we've been able to deliver on so many different areas and really, met our expectations of keeping what's great about Street 1, but then also putting in innovative features and great new style in the product that makes it NBA Street Volume 2.
So if you think you got the skills to pay the bills, then it's time for the tip-off on the outdoor asphalt of NBA Street Volume 2.
When we last saw Lara Croft in the hit Tomb Raider series, it seemed like the end had come for the popular heroine.
She had a very, very near scrape with death at the end of the last Revelation. The temple collapsed around her and her body's been missing, presumed dead, so...
We wanted to leave the viewing public on a sort of cliffhanger. Did she die? Didn't she die?
And us saying that she was lost, presumed dead, was a way for us to sort of get Lara to refocus on her own life, look back into herself about her priorities, what's important. So needless to say, she is alive and well, and she's going to come out guns a-blazing.
Lara returns in Tomb Raider: The Angel of Darkness, which continues from the end of the last Tomb Raider game.
But we just started off as Lara's been taken to Paris. She got a call from Von Croy, and she finds him dead.
and she's suddenly framed for his murder, and she's on the run from the French police, and it's a whole new scenario instead of the usual Tomb Raidering thing.
And very soon, everything that's been there for Lara, being famous, people recognising it around the world, it all works against her because suddenly everybody wants to catch her.
She's trying to go through and investigate who actually did kill Von Croy. That sort of leads her into a much deeper storyline. It's not just a crazed psychopath, it's a 15th century alchemist who's doing these ritual killings to rule the world, and she's got to clear her name by destroying him.
As Lara sets out to find Von Croy's killer, she finds that her ordeals have weakened her and that she needs to build up her strength and skills again.
She was really weakened at the tomb in Egypt. So it's the story of her sort of returning as a character, giving her the abilities that she once had and then lost.
We shall have an ability to improve her upper body strength or lower body strength. So as the game progresses, you'll find that she can perform longer jumps, or she can hang on to monkey swings longer and go over parts that she couldn't have done previously.
The Lara that you play potentially will be a different Lara to my Lara. I may be able to run a little bit faster with Lara, and I can get through that door that's always shutting, whereas you haven't quite honed those skills and can't get through that door, but you might be able to climb better than me, so you can go around that corner and drop down the courtyard that I can't get to.
We've also added more moves. She can do proper stealth moves now. She's got a lot of hand-to-hand combat in there, punching, kicking. She can sneak around corners. She can take enemies out and then sort of hide again.
Part of what allowed the core team to develop these new moves for Lara was the power of the PlayStation 2. They further tapped this potential to develop a host of other improvements that will push Lara's adventures to the next level.
Everything just goes up to a new level that nobody will have seen before, because we're allowed to do so much more with the PS2. Lara's 8,000 polygons. PS1 version, she was 600. So we've been able to add a whole new dimension of detail to her. She will actually lip sync when she talks to characters. They'll actually, have full facial expressions and lip sync back at Lara.
Stock medicinal potions and herbal extracts.
This Tomb Raider game is a lot darker than previous games, as in the storyline is much more sinister.
So the mood, the atmosphere is something that we've been very keen to create. I think that lends itself to the lighting system.
So we've tried to beef up the lighting a lot by adding the shadow maps. In certain areas they've got really very realistic shadows casting across the floor from objects, from Lara, other enemy characters. Everything casts shadows onto everything. Makes a hell of a difference.
As Lara struggles to determine what's happened to Von Croy, she runs into a new character in the Tomb Raider series, a character who's an integral part of the game.
His name is Curtis, and he is the coolest character ever. He's a member of an ancient sect of knights called the Lux Veritatis. They've sort of got paranormal powers, and basically he's a demon hunter.
We wanted Curtis to be quite a different character to Lara. It's going to be quite an interesting sort of love-hate relationship that they have initially, because Curtis is there in this game and he's always one step ahead of Lara. He's almost like the thorn on her side. He seems to be on his own mission, has his own agenda, but he's always just there one stage ahead of her.
So they don't like each other at all, and it's not till later on in the game that they sort of get to work as a team.
One of the hallmarks of the Tomb Raider series has always been the creative use of puzzles in the game, and Angel of Darkness is no exception.
And as we have looked at what people have enjoyed playing in Tomb Raider, it has actually been that sort of hard-edged puzzles. It's been that standing there, knowing where you've got to go, but trying to work out how to solve that puzzle. Also, we've got those sudden death sort of things where if you just don't get it right, she begins to fall. You've got that timing just to grab that ledge or grab that precipice just before she plummets to her death.
Tomb Raider, the Angel of Darkness, is the first part of a new story for Lara Croft, one that the game's creators have already mapped out.
The story within this game doesn't end within this game.
And this is very much, the first few chapters of the book, if you like.
There's a lot of unanswered questions that we've already planned for future titles.
It sounds like the team at Core have plenty of adventures in store for us in the future. Be sure to check out the start of this new era for Lara Croft when Tomb Raider: The Angel of Darkness hits stores late April.
Oh, is that it? Oh, sorry. I thought maybe that was in practice. I'll do it once more, yeah? Thank you. Tribe called the Bedouin Tribe. Oh, sorry, Strike. Sorry. Strike. 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 Oh, what were we going to say? We had a sinister client. Sorry.
Don't sweat it, kid.
Can I write something? Can we... Hang on, wait a minute,
Yeah.
darling. Sorry, I'm... stuttering and stammering.
E-A-U.
Got no brain. Oh, shit. And he thought it was crap anyway.
Oh!
In desperate days, heroes are chosen, not just for their courage or for their skills. Heroes are chosen by fate, by their own destiny. And within this fragile choice, great hopes and dreams reside. And one hero will emerge to shoulder our darkest burdens and lead us all to a brave new world. Adventures from the past will determine the course of the future.
We're in the future, Dax. This horrible place is our world.
And a world transformed by darkness
Why is the Baron giving eco to metalheads?
will become the challenge of a lifetime.
Questions like that could get a person killed.
Naughty Dog presents the next generation of adventure.
Something's happening to me. I can't control it.
And reveals the secrets of a hero's destiny. Triumph, betrayal, revenge. Jak and Daxter.
Where would you be without me, eh, Dax?
Well, Jak, I probably wouldn't be 2 feet tall, fuzzy, and running around in a sewer without a pair of pants.
A new legacy begins